So we are close to a few last releases in the games industry before the end of the year. Specifically, we have Marvel Rivals, we have Indiana Jones, and we have Path of Exile 2, all releasing technically on the same day, on Friday, December 6th. Because of early access. Like Indiana Jones technically is on the 9th, but you can pay for 3-day early access. So sort of on the 6th, you get what I mean. And, you know, Paul Tassi wrote an article for Forbes where he basically outlines the options and the distinctions between them. Of course, Indiana Jones is a Game Pass title. Marvel Rivals is free to play. And then Path of Exile 2 is also free to play. Meaning if you have Game Pass, you are totally open to play any of these. Any of these. It's just up to you. Is Infinity Nikki also releasing that day? Oh, well, there you go. So it's a big choice for a lot of people to make. And my question is, which one wins? My prediction, I already think Path of Exile 2 is going to be big. I think everybody kind of expects that. I expect this to be one last like surprise blowout smash hit. I think that that's going to be the big one. I think players are starved for depth, for complexity. You know, we were just looking the other day at clips from Avowed where Destin from IGN was describing how they have the same problem as a lot of other games where the characters are solving puzzles for you. You walk in a room and they're like, hey, look up there. We should go outside the building and climb up that ladder to get to the treasure up there. Just total brain dead nonsense where they're like, hey, we're just going to hold your hand through the entire game. I think that drives players crazy. I know it drives me crazy. And I think players really want some depth. Players really want something to sink their teeth into. They're starved for it right now, especially in light of other attempted RPGs like Dragon Age Veilguard, for example, which really lacks any semblance of depth. I guess it's a Freudian slip, but it lacks any semblance of depth in gameplay or narrative or anything. Meanwhile, Path of Exile 2, this is the skill tree for that. 1,500 different points. Like, oh God. In many ways, this itself is like a work of art. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You can see it's like constellations. They have like sword-shaped ones and spear-shaped one and diamonds and stuff. It's a bow-shaped one. Very beautiful. But here's the thing, like Path of Exile seems unapologetically massive and complicated. As you can see from Chris, who said Path of Exile 2 is going to be a huge market test. Most game devs have been leaning pretty heavily towards cookie cutters, cute, safe, simple, everyone wins and anyone can play type of games. PoE 2 seems challenging, dark, gritty, hard, complex, and at times even frustrating. And that's totally right. That's totally right. And if anything, maybe it's seen as a potential turnoff for people where it's like, it's too intense, it's too complicated, it's too much. And perhaps that is the case. Perhaps that does end up being a problem. But I think most likely players will just jump in to try it. I think going and having this free to play is a fantastic idea, because this is one of those games, if people connect with it, they will want to support it. They will jump in. They will pay for the upgrade to whatever edition. They will do all of that because it looks really solid. And I think if they can actually achieve that, this is going to blow up. I mean, and for me, what gets me really excited is the tone, is the art. It is, if this is this IGN again. Yep. I was like, it looks like someone smeared Vaseline on the screen. Yep. It's IGN. That's what I get. Okay. For the love of God. How they still have this problem with like, with horrible compression. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Come on. It's 2024 in the year of our Lord. Todd Howard, how are we still dealing with this compression issue? Okay, this is GameSpot. At least it has a higher bit rate. But it's beautiful. It's extremely complex. And it seems like an ARPG for actual ARPG fans. And while Diablo 4 has gotten better, I think this one is what people really were hoping to get out of Diablo 4 from the outset. I really hope that they don't have any big hiccups. You know, with these types of games, I'm always worried about big balance issues, or I'm worried about performance issues at launch with server overloads. What was it with WoW? It was error 37, I think. Error 37, whatever that was. I'm always anxious about that type of thing. I hope that it's not going to do that. Bitrate, how dare you? Nice looking Diablo like. Yeah, that's a meme that started because I believe it was that one of the Diablo guys said, I wonder if we can normalize the term Diablo like. So any of these games, instead of just being ARPGs, are defined as like ARP or as Diablo like, because they want like to capitalize on it, which is kind of funny. But I another Strand type game. Okay, now actually, how dare you? It just looks really epic and crazy. And it's one of those games that when I first heard about and saw, I was like, I don't know, man, it just looks too much. It looks like too much, because this is going to be one of those games that you're going to know life and become addicted to. And it's going to be all you think about as you work on your builds for years and years. And it's going to be awesome, but it's going to suck your life out. And initially I was like, I don't want to, but honestly, the more I've seen of it, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready at this point to know life it. I find it thoroughly intriguing. And the idea that they are not holding your hand, the idea that they're going to just let you figure it out, I find that so appealing. I can't even tell you, because so many of these games have forgotten how to trust players. And I think that that really is what it comes down to. Developers, at least in the West, really seem to lack trust in their players. They think players are like stupid or need hand holding or whatever. And maybe it's game design by spreadsheet too much. Maybe it's too much reliance on focus groups, and it's just too clinical and too academic. And maybe you just need to make a solid game that you would want to play. Like, I can't believe we have to say that, but I think it's a reflection of this sort of corporatization of so many different industries. It's even happened in like our politics, where like politicians don't want to say anything unless it's been focus group tested by 15 different groups. And unless they like, okay, well, the mean response is at this percentage level. And, you know, when we calculate the delta between this and that, it's like, where you just say what you think. Maybe people want something genuine like that. With this, it's a similar vibe where I'm like, just make a game that you developers would really love playing and have confidence in it. And, you know, ask for feedback from your community members, sure, but make a solid game and don't hold my hand. Don't try to dumb it down, because it's you know, we've said a lot, the myth of the modern audience. I do think that there is something to be said for that, where there's this perception seemingly among game devs where they think that modern audiences need their hand held a lot. They want things simplified. They want everything to be feel good. They want everything to be like campy, kitschy Marvel writing where everybody's super sarcastic and kind of annoying. Even though I don't know anybody who eats that up and loves it. Everybody rolls their eyes. Everybody. I don't know who they're talking about. And I don't think they do either, because those games keep flopping. They keep having disastrous launches because nobody likes it. But I think ultimately it's because the people that are making those games are not really hardcore gamers themselves. I don't know what game or who they're trying to make the games for, and I don't think they know either. They're just making what they think you should like instead of what they think you will like. And that's a difference. And man, look at that. Oh, I'm a Necromancer player with Diablo, and so seeing this also gets me giggly and what's the word? Hard. That's it. Dude, it looks so good. So I'm excited. I'm excited to check it out. Being free is certainly going to make it something that everybody can just try and jump into. I think it's going to pop off. With the type of game that this is, the ARPG community is, they do not let you get away with much of anything. So I think that this is going to be very well balanced within a handful of months. They're going to really dial it in. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff that's broken when it's launched, but considering the type of game it is, I don't think that'll be that big of a deal. So long as they respond to it quickly and, You know, I think they've certainly paid attention to the launch of Diablo 4, and they want to avoid some of the mistakes that they had there, whether it's with inventory just becoming flooded with things like gems, or if it's just, you know, lack of substantial depth. I think they've got all of that here and more. The only potential hiccup could be that it's too intimidating, it's too deep, and it causes some resistance or friction with players. But you know, I'd rather have more friction and figure it out than none at all and just glide through the entire game without any challenge at all. And I think this game, if this pops off, I think it's another confirmation, just like Elden Ring, just like Shadow of the Erdtree and everything. I think it's another confirmation that players are sick and tired of having their handheld with everything. Like, those games blow up and end up being fantastically successful, and they don't hold your hand at all. Like, clearly millions and millions and millions of players want something deep and engrossing and complex. Because guess what? Adults kind of like this stuff. Adults like playing games. Not all of us are 12-year-olds playing Fortnite. I know there's a lot of Fortnite money out there. I know there's a big community, but still, man. Oh, look at that. I love big, epic, gross boss fights. This is, oh my God, I'm so here for it. Torgul the Defiler. Man, I'm so here for it. So anyway, Wonder Restored. Yeah, I like having a little bit of complexity. And guess what? Here's the thing. With all these games, whether it's Elden Ring or Path of Exile 2 or whatever, if it's complicated and if players are trying to really figure out, okay, what stat do I need to pay attention to if I want to up my poison resistance? Is that Constitution, or is that this or that? They're going to Google it. They're going to look it up. That's okay. That's okay. It's like, I remember seeing an interview from Hidetaka Miyazaki where he said something really interesting I hadn't considered before, but it was in light of Elden Ring's launch. And basically, I think the interview was
still Yokill _54 is now a member.
Thank you.
H. Luke.
Hi, Luke. Hi, Mrs. Steelkill. Thank you for 8 months. What he was asked was like, do you think players should go through your games without guides, without looking up stuff online? And what the rough translation from Miyazaki put out was really, really interesting. And I hadn't thought of it before. He said that he thought that community aspect of FromSoft games was actually one of the best things about their games. It's like the fact that the community will come together and build guides to help players is one of the strengths of these types of games. It's one of the things that you can't get elsewhere. The idea that if you want to discover something amazing, some powerful weapon for your type of character, for your type of build, that you can look it up and a member of the community has helped you out ahead of time and worked on that and discovered it, and you still have to go get it. You still have to fight through the throngs of enemies to get there, but you're working together to achieve that goal. It's the same goal of like the messages on the floor that they've put out there, which is why I jokingly said when Death Stranding came out, I was like, Kojima was saying it's a new genre because it's a strand game where players help each other. In a weird way, like Elden Ring and all these other games and big ARPGs like this, they are also sort of strand games where all of these players are working together to achieve the same end. Sure, you know, you could say, well, I want to be a purist and I want to go through it without any of that. And that's totally fine. It's very, very valid. But players working together is also a strength of these types of games, that the community builds itself up and establishes guides and things to help players who maybe want that little extra help or want that little extra push to find this cool object or whatever. And I think that is really, really good. It's good for the longevity of the game too, because after you do a raw run through where you just play the game without any of that outside information and you just are discovering everything yourself, and then you go back through again looking at guides to see what you missed, and then you're like, oh my God, there's this other type of weapon. I didn't even know this was a thing. That's amazing. I'm so here for it. That is one of the most fun things to do in these types of games, is to discover the stuff that you missed the first time and then to go back through and try it again and then try to fully min-max your character. You know, that can be some of the most fun you can have. Dude, I just can't get over the detail level. Like, granted, this I'm sure is running on like top of the line PC hardware, but still, it is gorgeous. I don't know why anybody would play anything but Necromancer, honestly. I love it. Having your own little like skeleton soldiers fighting for you. I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is PoE 2. Yeah. So if you are interested, this is coming out same day technically as early access for Indiana Jones. It is coming out same day as Infinity Nikki, apparently, and Marvel Rivals all at the same time. So it's going to be a busy week, I'm sure, but it couldn't have come too soon because we, of course, are headed into the holidays where there's not a whole lot. And I'm very excited because I'm going on vacation like shortly after all of this drops, and I am so ready to like download this on my laptop and just go ham. He took my thing.